gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's March the 2nd, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined today by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, I thought I would start out with one of the stories that we have on CaneSport.com today. And that is regarding the NCAA looking for ways to speed up football games beginning as soon as this fall, and how that might impact the Miami Hurricanes. And, they're looking at things like the clock will run after an incomplete pass, things like that. Too many games, you're going 3.5, 4 hours. They want to tighten it up, and very similar to what the NFL does, and just shorten the games in general. So the question is, who does that help? Does it help the up-tempo teams, like, say, a Rhett Lashley offense, where they're going to be going rapid speed the whole game anyway? Maybe they'll do less plays, but they're still going to run more than anybody else. How does it impact the Shannon Dawson offense, where they don't go up-tempo really, and they'll get fewer plays, and it'll put a premium on execution and making the plays that you do have count? Your thoughts on this latest movement to speed up the game of college football?
Yeah, well, I mean, the people it helps the most, for sure, are the reporters. We don't have to sit there and watch a 4-hour game anymore. We get to enjoy our pregame meal, enjoy our halftime hot dog and chips, and then get home at a reasonable hour. That's all that really matters. That's my first takeaway. I guess my second takeaway is, as it pertains to Shannon Dawson, and you guys can read the story, I don't think it affects his type of situation at all. I think the only offensive minds it would affect would be, high tempo air raid type people who, in their mind's eye, want to run the 84 plays Texas Tech ran last season because they feel like that helps wear down a defense in the fourth quarter. Of course, it's wearing down their own defense too, hypothetically. But, the offensive coordinators only think about offense. They want to wear down the other defense. If you can't run 84 plays in your Texas Tech and, you're basically going to run 78, 79 plays instead, they could hypothetically maybe really try to rush up to the line fast and snap it all the time and get it there back to their 84 plays. But it's going to be just a hyper speed, warp speed. I don't know, whatever you Star Trek fans want to call it. The issue there is if they're playing a team that's coached by Josh Gaddis that just runs the ball up the middle every time and can convert some first downs, you're going to see time discrepancies, hypothetically, 45-15. I mean, it'll just be insane if some high-tempo offenses wants to rush the line and snap it every time, wants to do that with the other team's huddling and taking its time. I mean, it's going to be really weird. But it also depends what rules are instituted. If they have a running clock, for instance, after an incomplete pass, which I don't think they will, but which the XFL does, that would really, really speed up the game. But I think it's going to be more along the lines of no more stopping the clock after a first down and a couple other tweaks here and there, more along the lines of an NFL game that typically don't last, NFL games typically don't last much more than 3 hours. And it would be very easy for the NCAA just to do what the NFL does. I mean, it's not that hard to just do that. Apparently, they want to make it more complicated and just try to do it their own way. So instead of just saying we'll follow the NFL system, they're going to do it how they're going to do it, because that's what the NCAA does. The NCAA screws everything up. Apparently, they even lied about the Cavender twins eating a meal. I mean, why the NCAA are such horrible people to lie about two basketball players eating a meal? Who are these people?
All right, so we did a 3-year analysis of Shannon Dawson's offense at Houston, and they averaged 70.5 plays per game. And just so people can compare, the Miami offense under Josh Gaddis averaged 68.9 plays per game. So really just about a play a game less, not so pretty darn close. And surprisingly, with all the hoopla about being an up-tempo, hurry-up offense, Rhett Lashley's 2021 Miami offense only averaged 73.3 plays a game. So that's only 4 plays more than what Shannon Dawson averaged at Houston. So we're really kind of splitting hairs at times with these discussions about up tempo, not up tempo, huddle, offense. But the NCAA, and I know you said you like it, and I'm kind of in the middle on it. I think that games should just be let to run their course, and whatever number of plays they are, that's the number of plays they are. I don't feel like you have to, over dictate everything in sports, but that would make the people at the NCAA feel irrelevant. I get it, and so they are looking to tweak the game by making a couple rules changes designed to speed things up so that the average college football game gets a little bit closer to the 3-hour mark that the NFL has been able to accomplish with its rules reform through the years.
And by the way, they're running into trouble with the TV contracts, because if a game is slotted to start, one game starts at noon, another game starts at 3:30, and the game's going 3 hours and 45 minutes. As a Miami fan, do you really want to have to tune into some, other station? You got to figure out which station it is for 15 minutes to watch the beginning of your game. So I think it's a fine rule. I have no problem with making the game a normal amount of time. And if that means a team can't take a second straight timeout to ice a kicker, or the clock's running after a first down, I'm fine with that. I like the NFL. I've got no problems with how the NFL's run. And you know what? If I can watch my game without having to go to ESPN News and trying to figure out when to go back to ABC, I'm fine with that.
All right, I'm being disciplined here, and I'm not interrupting you. But so what do you do about basketball, Matt? You know how many times the Miami Hurricanes their games have started without the TV game before that game being over, and they're picking up Canes basketball games 6, 7, 8 minutes into the game. Well, what are we going to do there? I mean, are we going to have a running clock in college basketball to try to speed those games up, or are we going to continue to let the games run their course? And that's kind of my point on this. And after giving it some thought, why I'm leaning in that direction, let the games run their course. Stop changing the game. These games have existed for many, many decades, football and basketball. Let the teams play the games. Let the chips fall where they may. And if you need to alter your start times, maybe instead of the game starting at 3:30, maybe they start at 4. Maybe the games, instead of starting 7:30, start at 8. Do it that way, as opposed to changing the actual game themselves, which you are when you put these type of rule changes in. You are changing the rules of the game, changing the way those games are played. So it's going to be very interesting in the coming weeks to see just how this all plays out moving forward. All right. We do have other stuff on the website today, so let's get into that. We have your biggest question mark on offense entering spring ball. And so, Matt, a lot of thought went into that. And, you probably could point to a lot of different areas of question, really, on the offensive side of the ball. But you're suggesting that the biggest question mark isn't even on the field, it's off the field. And I'll let you go ahead and explain that a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's to me, it's fairly obvious that the whole key this spring is not to have the offense look great or the defense look great. I'm never a fan, honestly, of either side looking great, because to me, all that means is the other side's not doing real well. So to me, spring football and fall drills, it's a little bit out the window. It's nice to see one guy flash here and there and another guy to flash here and there, not for one guy to consistently dominate, because that just means the other side of the ball, whether it's a receiver dominating the cornerbacks, whatever it is, it's hard to say that receiver is the greatest player in the ACC, or just the cornerbacks are flat out awful until you get in game situations. So you do want that back and forth, that competitiveness. We've seen it back in the day when Gary and I covered the team and they were actually competing for national championships, that's what you saw. And there was skirmishes every practice, and there was just a different, I don't want to say tempo really, because the tempo is not that different, but a different atmosphere. It just felt different. It felt different, and you just saw the hunger that guys had. And we haven't seen that in a long time. So that's sort of part of what I was trying to get at with what I want to see this spring. I want to sort of see that old school Miami Hurricanes want to. I don't want to see guys that just aren't really all in every single rep of every single play. So, you can call it an intangible and off the field thing, but it really is just a will to win. I want to see a will to win, a desire where even a second teamer is like, I put in this much work, I'm not going to be a second teamer anymore. And you know what? I like to see some skirmishes. I don't remember seeing any skirmishes in the fall. And, there's nothing wrong with that. A great team has skirmishes on the field. And I think that's actually a good thing because it means somebody is not going to take no for an answer. It means, I am going to work my butt off. I'm going to fight you. You're the enemy right now. And like when you lose to your enemy, it's not always just, oh, okay, I guess I'm not that good. And you go back to the huddle. You're upset. You're upset. I want to see guys that are upset. I don't want to see guys that are like, oh, well, I tried. I don't want that anymore. There's been too much of that.
All right. We also take a look today at the safety position going into spring practice. And I think that the analysis is spot on. That, we think that there is top end talent with Cam Kinchens and James Williams, but what's behind them? And is James Williams, I still say that whether he is really a safety is very much in question. So this is going to be, Matt, a very big spring practice for the safety position. I think they have to build depth behind Cam, behind James, and we have to see what James looks like in the Lance Guidry defense. I mean, I personally don't think there's any givens there. I've always felt that it was a borderline whether he should drop down into the box and play linebacker or stay at safety. He, of course, wants to stay at safety. The question is, now that he's getting deeper into his career, what he has to figure out is where is the best place for me to play? And whatever that is, he needs to accept it. So I'm going to be watching James Williams very, very close this spring. I think that figuring out just what he is, how Lance can use him, is one of the biggest issues / agenda items of spring practice. A lot of people, like I said, will look at it and say, oh, it's a done deal. He's a safety. I don't look at it that way. I think it's a question mark what he is. And I think a lot's going to depend on the scheme. And I'm looking forward, like I said, to seeing what James Williams looks like in this defense.
Look, notwithstanding James Williams, the safety position overall, to me, it's like a little bit like my iPhone. Like, the iPhone's great and everything, but the overall position, like, I wake up at, 4:30 in the morning or whatever, or if you wake up at midnight or whatever, you look at your iPhone or whatever, and it says like something about optimization. It'll finish charging later. Like we just keep waiting to see if there's anybody behind these two safeties that can do anything. I'm not convinced there are. So to me, forget where James Williams plays. Okay, James Williams will be in the box. James Williams will be moving around in Guidry's defense. James Williams will be blitzing in Guidry's defense. What I want to see happen is A, there's not enough depth on this team, just numbers-wise, pure numbers-wise. But B, I'm not sure. They have to convince Brian Ballum to return. I'm not sure there's really anybody at safety other than these two guys that are any good. So what I really want to see happen is for Lance Guidry to convince some weak-minded individual in the portal that he will use three safeties at the same time. And you know what? Maybe they won't be weak-minded because he might. He very well might. There's nothing wrong with calling James Williams a safety, and using him in the box 80% of the time, and having two other safeties there. Like, that's okay, especially when the linebacker group has no depth. So I hope they make an emphasis after this spring in the May, whatever it is, May 1st to May 15th window, whatever it is. I hope they put a real emphasis on getting another top safety and convincing that guy that, look, technically, is Guidry. I run a 4-2-5 pretty much. And we have two safeties. That's it. You can come here, work with an All-American safety, another guy who's going to be an All-American safety, and they'll help make you that much better too. Look at how I use safeties in my defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There can be an argument made. Whereas before they hired Lance Guidry, I thought there was no way in can I say HELL? I don't know. In you can say hell, right? I thought there's no way in hell.
Same thing you want.
Ever. I don't know. That's a bad word. It's not a bad word.
This is the internet.
I mean, just because Gary's going there doesn't make it a bad word. So, just because now I've been mean. Now everyone's going to say I'm mean again. So listen, so just because there's two great safeties, my thought was, how are they going to ever get another safety to come here this year and convince that guy he's going to play? Well, now I think in Lance Guidry's defense, he can make the argument that they will indeed use, potentially, if he's good enough, 3 starting safeties, because they don't have any real great linebackers. We'll see what happens. It wouldn't shock me. You could call that safety a striker, whatever term you want to use, but I think they could do that.
When we took a look at his defense, one thing that was notable was the different formations he likes to use, how he mixes up his personnel, how in passing situations he does bring in. I mean, there's times where he just had 2 down linemen in passing situations. And so I think he's going to look to use the personnel that the Canes have very creatively. And usually that means getting more safeties involved, because those are the kind of guys that can multitask, so to speak. They can walk and they can chew gum, like my man Jay Collette loves to applaud. And so I don't know how much of that we're going to see in the spring. I don't know how much of that they're going to want to show. I'm thinking Guidry is going to use the spring. There's a lot of guys that are going to be out injured. He's going to use the spring to teach and just kind of evaluate personnel. I'm not sure how much scheming, Matt, we're going to actually see in terms of creative play calls. I'm expecting it to be relatively vanilla. But then once they get into the summer and he's had a chance to learn his personnel, I could definitely see 3 or 4 safeties getting significant action in the fall.
Yeah, look, the thing I'm wary of, and I don't know when you want as a coordinator to start coaching. As a coach, both coordinators have all of 15 practices to do whatever they want with the team. Like, that's what they're allowed. They're not allowed to be with the team in the summer. They can't go out there and say, hey, let's work on this formation. Let's work on this concept.
Well, they are for a certain period of time.
In the classroom, not on the field. And
no, they're allowed on the field now too. They changed that rule a couple years ago, but it's for a very limited amount of time.
Yeah, it's not enough. So the point is, you have 15 spring practices, and then you have fall practices. There's not enough. Whatever these rules are, I mean, from what I've heard from players, it's not like they're getting taught how to use a whole playbook in the summer. That's not what I've been told. So that's what I'm pointing to. Whether they get an hour a week, whatever it is, I don't know. But my point is this: you have a new offensive coordinator and a new defensive coordinator, and I know, if you're a Miami fan and you're playing against any team in the first 4 or 5 games of the next season that has new coordinators on both sides of the ball, you sort of relish that. Like, that's what you want, because they're not going to be in sync. They're not going to be doing things quite the way that they should. And that is why I hope Gary's wrong, and they don't just run these vanilla plays and just put in 5 or 10 plays, the Gary Ferman offense, the Gary Ferman defense. Don't try to do anything too complicated because they can't handle it. Just let's run around a little bit with our shoulder pads on and pretend we're doing something. Put in the frickin' offense, put in the frickin' defense, and let's go.
Don't you need to go catch some crabs or something?
I already did that. I did that yesterday. Oh, my God. Where did you get that paparazzi shot?
Oh, no, man.
Yeah, I did go yesterday.
So wait a minute. That's what they look like when they, I mean, that looks almost like a fully cooked crab.
No, that's what they look like before you cook them. That's right out of the bay. That crab I'm holding is a colossal. I should have held it up against one of the smaller ones. That's a $150 bill right there. Is there such a thing as a $150 bill? Yes, there is, because I'm holding it.
Are you going to sell it or are you going to eat it?
It's already been eaten. What are you talking about? Those have all been eaten. What do you think happens in the Shodell household? You think we just admire the crabs or bring them to some market, some magical market?
Who got the big one?
I don't even think we're allowed to sell them. I think it's illegal.
Who got the big one?
The captain of the boat gets the big one.
So he got to take that one.
I am not the captain of the boat.
So you took home.
Actually, I take it back. The captain of the boat's wife gets the big one. Okay. That's who gets the big one.
So there was only one colossal in the whole batch.
No, there was a few, but I mean that was an insane crab. That was an insane claw. But no, we usually split them up, and I actually can pick out whatever ones I want, but I always leave the biggest of the biggest for the captain's wife. And we were supposed to have one of the fans of the show was supposed to come with us yesterday. He was very excited.
Who's that?
he had heard, I can't say his name, but he had heard me talking about stone crabbing constantly on the show, and he didn't realize that he knew the person that I go stone crabbing with. And he sent me a text. He said, next time you go stone crabbing, I gotta go with you. So I texted him a couple of days ago, and I said, listen, we're going tomorrow, which was yesterday. And I said, if you want to join us, go ahead. And he had a doctor's appointment. He said, I can't change my doctor's appointment. So it probably was a good thing, because the bay was supposed to be a light chop, which for those of you that don't know is like what the Seminole fans do. It's like, barely a chop. It's more like a slight wave, like that. And it was not a light chop. It was the actual correct Seminole, that thing, the thing in the back, the painting I have. You guys all know I'm a Florida State fan. It's the secret's out. Florida State fan and the Gators. That's who I root for, everybody. That's who I root for. You know it. I'm only saying that because I know Gary's going to edit that part out. I just want to make him actually do some work. Yeah, you have to, because otherwise I'll be crucified. So you have no choice except to edit it out.
Not my problem, man.
Do some work for a change, Ferman.
All right, so other stuff on the website today. We've got a couple recruiting stories, and this is a big recruiting week for the Canes. Junior Day is coming up on Saturday. Probably could be a couple hundred prospects on campus this Saturday. We'll be we're still putting together the list, so we'll have that for you guys on the website as the week goes forward. But big recruiting weekend. And today we take a look at Gulliver Prep 3-star defensive back Amari Sanders. He has received over 15 offers.
Are you yawning in the middle of Good Morning CaneSport?
No, man. I'm just reading about Amari Sanders.
That was a yawn. I could rewind that, and that was a yawn.
It wasn't a yawn.
You're so bored. Put on a Zuby. A Zuby doesn't yawn.
Anyway, so Amari Sanders has received over 15 offers to play college football, and one of them has come from the Miami Hurricanes. Now we catch up with him and see what he's thinking. We also take a look at St. Louis, Missouri, Christian Brothers, 4-star wide receiver Jeremiah McClellan, who lists over 35 offers, one of them from the Miami Hurricanes. And that's an interesting story. Make sure you guys read that one. Baseball is building up towards a huge series against the Florida Gators this weekend. Matt, you were out there yesterday chatting it up with some of the baseball players and Coach Gino DeMari. What's the mindset and mood going into the Gator series?
Terrible. Listen, I don't
understand. Don't make me yawn again.
I don't understand this. Why is Gage Zeal the Friday night starter? Like, give him a couple of starts. It's fine, whatever. I asked Gino, I'm a nice person. I didn't say to Gino DeMari, like, why is Gage Zeal still starting? I said to him, did you consider any? Well, I said, are there any? The first question I asked him was, are there any starting rotation changes or whatever? And he's like, no, it's too early in the year, whatever. And I'm like, well, did you consider making any starting pitching rotation changes? And he apparently knew immediately that I was talking about Gage Zeal, because he started talking about Gage Zeal. And he says, look, Gage only had one bad inning last game, and then he was much better. To which I did not respond. One bad inning can make a bad outing. One bad inning can cost you a game against Florida. Like, one bad inning is not okay. I don't know how much rope you give a guy. I understand. Look, I know baseball, so that's I say I know baseball. I know baseball fairly well, not as well as Gino, of course. But I think part of what he didn't say is that he just doesn't want to ruin Gage Zeal's confidence, because I don't think he has anybody behind him. Ben Chestnut is struggling as midweek starter. They have 3 guys that are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starters, and there's no reason, if they had anybody else that he thought would get the job done, that in this particular series he could not say, hey, we're replacing Gage Zeal. I feel like he feels that the pitching staff is a problem. I feel that he feels there is an issue right now with his entire starting rotation, and that starts with Gage Zeal. And if you make Gage Zeal the Sunday guy or the midweek guy at this point, a guy like that who's starting pitcher for the first time, I don't know that he doesn't go in the tank. And I think that's really what it's about more than anything else. But Gino, of course, wouldn't say that, because that's not what coaches say. That's Matt Shodell reaching into Gino's mind using my mind control device and figuring out what he should have said without saying it. or no, didn't say without saying it, because I don't know if he should have said it. He shouldn't have said it. What he didn't say without saying it, which brings me to a headline. The headline of the day. This is the new Matt Shodell segment. Headline of the day, Gary. You ready for it? I'm going to give you a headline, and you have to guess what it's regarding. Okay? This is an actual headline, and I'm hoping it's fake because it's written by some guy named Aspen Flugerheft, who I guess is Scottish. And it was on Yahoo. It was on my Yahoo Sports, or not Yahoo Sports, just Yahoo News feed. The headline is "Massive Arctic Creature Spotted for First Time in 25 Years Along Coast of Scotland." So, Gary, I want you to tell me what you think the massive Arctic creature was when I read that story, because you know you have to read that story when you see that headline. What was the massive Arctic creature, Gary?
The Loch Ness Monster?
You would think. Or something really incredible. I read the first few paragraphs. It's a freaking walrus. Like, why? Why is there that headline? Why is it in Yahoo News? You know, somebody should be fired for this, okay? Walrus is not a massive creature. Is it Arctic? I just, I don't know that it's necessarily an Arctic creature.
Where have you seen a walrus that wasn't in the Arctic?
It's in Scotland. It's not in the Arctic. It should not be massive Arctic creature. It should be massive Scottish creature spotted for first time in 25 years along coast of Scotland. Maybe these haven't been looking very hard. For 25 years, they just couldn't see them. I don't know, but that's a little ridiculous. That's my headline of the day. And Gary Ferman, you got
lost a little bit.
Gary Ferman gets an F for picking a mystical creature that doesn't exist.
Sounds like he got lost, this walrus.
The walrus got lost?
Yeah.
Everyone can read the story.
It's one waterway, so it's easy to get lost if you're living up in the Arctic, and it's easy to get down to Scotland and just get lost.
Here, I'll give you one more bonus question to see if you really are going to fail.
Great.
How many teeth does a walrus have?
6.
It doesn't have teeth, Gary. It has tusks. And it has 2 tusks.
No teeth at all?
No, it has no teeth. It has giant gums and 2 massive teeth, which are called tusks.
Oh, well.
Yeah. See, now you're going to edit that out. You're going to leave in the stuff about FSU in Florida. I was joking, everybody. I'm not a Florida State fan or a Florida fan, okay? If he leaves that in, it's only because he's lazy. And this part's getting edited out anyway, so now no one's going to know that I was just joking about being a Florida and Florida State fan. This is, typical Good Morning CaneSport stuff. Shenanigans by Gary Ferman, who won't let Azubi on the show anymore, kick Steven off because he doesn't like his mustache. Like, this whole thing is rigged, just like the election. Just like the rigged election. Edit that out, too. It was not a rigged election, people. I don't think. Maybe some people out there do. I don't think it was rigged. You think the election was rigged, Gary?
No.
I'm talking about my condo board election. Which election are you talking about?
Your condo board election.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
All right, well, that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport.
This was the worst Good Morning CaneSport ever. Let's not even run this. Let's not even run this. Let's just leave it.
You know what I didn't bring up, which we should talk about, is Kevin Beard coming back home.
Oh, yeah.
To be the wide receivers coach. We haven't spoken about that yet on this show.
Yeah.
Kevin was one of 3 former Hurricanes that were at least talked to in this process. Lamar Thomas, Leonard Hankerson being the other. Leonard Hankerson decided to pull out at the last minute to stay in San Francisco after the 49ers came up with a boatload of cash. So Kevin Beard ended up winning the sweepstakes over Lamar Thomas, and he'll come coach the Miami receivers. He's been working with Jason Candle at Toledo for several years. Matt, your thoughts on the Kevin Beard hire?
Look, I know Kevin very well. Very personable, great recruiter. I think he'll be fine. He sort of knows, obviously, Miami. He played at Miami. He's actually didn't he coach receivers at Miami for 1 year or something like that before this?
3 or 4 years back.
Was it that long? Yeah. He definitely knows the program, inside and out. And I'm happy for him. He's a great guy. The only thing that bothers me is, like you said, he wasn't Mario's first choice. You always want the head coach to get his first choice as a position coach or as a coordinator.
Mario would tell you he was the first choice because that's how Mario rolls. That's how Mario rolls.
Okay, whatever. You do want somebody who is a competent recruiter and a competent coach. What I know about Kevin Beard, for sure, he's a competent recruiter. The wide receiver coaching thing, we'll see a little bit more. I'm not going to sit here and lie to people and be like, oh my God, he's the greatest technician for wide receivers ever. Yeah, he played wide receiver at Miami. He's been coached by some really good coaches. He's worked as a receivers coach for quite a while now. So, I mean, we'll see. The last time I saw him coach, was when he was at Miami, and he was okay. He didn't blow me away as a coach. And he's had a lot of experience since then. So I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm going to assume he's a great coach also. And this is a home run hire. But, Matt Shodell, negative Nancy, I got to wait till I see it. So when I see him coach this spring, then I'll report back, and I'll tell you how bad he is.
He's under a lot of pressure, in my opinion. They have to win in recruiting at that position. And you got a big one here in South Florida, Jeremiah Smith. It was not an accident that the second that Kevin Beard knew he had the job and probably filled out the paperwork, that his first phone call was to Jeremiah Smith on Tuesday night. So, Jeremiah Smith is a must-get for Kevin Beard, and he will be measured year one more by that than by what happens on the field with the wide receivers, in my opinion. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, wasn't Kevin also at one point a South Florida Express coach? I think he was.
I think he was involved.
So I mean, he's got some serious area connections that he'll be able to use for sure. And he's got a lot of friends down here and people that trust him with their talent. So look, if he can you don't have to be the greatest coach in the world if you have the greatest talent in the world. So yeah, if he can get some of these top receivers in 2024 to stay home, I mean, he's a no-brainer hire as a coach. If he gets these guys to come to Miami, that's all that matters. These guys are that good, these 5-star receivers.
What the heck is that?
What happened now?
Where the heck's that coming from? Somebody's sabotaging our show.
Where?
I knew that was on your computer because I'm not looking at anything on mine where that would have been coming from.
Where's mine?
I don't know.
Well, what are you looking at?
I don't know. I'm not looking at anything. They were talking about an undercover agent.
On my screen?
I don't know. Where's it coming from?
You're hearing somebody talk?
I don't know.
What are you talking about?
I don't know what you're doing. You're doing something.
I'm not. I'm really not. This is like seeing the great beast in Scotland. I mean, there's nothing there. It's an imaginary beast. It doesn't exist.
Hey, and before we go, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the Canes basketball team, which is preparing for its winner-take-all regular season championship game against Pitt at the Watsco Center on Saturday night. Somehow, some way, despite 5 hiccups in ACC play, that they shouldn't have had. I mean, they are the best team in the ACC, but they will get a chance to prove it Saturday night at home when they play Pitt. The game's sold out. It should be an epic atmosphere at the Watsco Center Saturday night. And so Canes basketball team is building towards that. We will have more on that here as the week continues.
Yeah, I am really looking forward to the pizza they're going to serve before the game down in the media room. I love that. They have pizza, pasta, rolls, salad.
Yeah, it's a nice spread. Big cheese.
And I will be covering the game.
Huh?
And I'll be covering the game. I get to cover the game instead of Azubi for once.
How about that?
Because Azubi's going to be doing recruiting.
Yeah, we got a lot. We
got a busy Saturday.
Big Saturday coming up, folks. Make sure you're glued to the website all day. A lot of coverage. Spring practice, junior day recruiting, basketball, and baseball against the Gators. So there's a lot going on this weekend. But for now, that's going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport today. We thank you so much for starting out your day with us. If you like this channel, like this show, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube. And if you are not yet a subscriber to CaneSport.com, with spring practice starting, there's no better time to make that move right now. $29.95 takes you all the way up to the start of football season in September. We encourage you to join us if you have not yet done so. So for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thank you once again, everybody. We'll see you next time.